Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. We've got myself and Captain James tonight, and we are going to be talking fishing and talking about what's going on now, what's coming up, talk a little bit about the weather, and a little bit more about what y'all want to hear. Hopefully you guys have some questions for us. Remember, if you do have a question, make sure you text it to us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen there, your question. You want to text that to us. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. If you haven't stopped by and seen our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, make sure you do so. 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. Make sure you stop in to Gator Jim's Tackle and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. They have killer deals going on right now. Absolutely insane. They have great deals all year round. It's Black Friday every day at Gator Gyms, but they have even better deals right now, and it's just packed, loaded with inventory. So stop by, see them, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also want to make sure we give a shout out to all our supporters out there in our supporters group who make the show possible and help fuel the show. So big shout out to all those supporters watching tonight and those who watch later. And then also, of course, a big shout out to all the star senders as well. On Facebook, you can choose to send stars right there by the comment box. There's a stars button, and that just helps to support the show, fuel the show, and make everything that we do here possible on Sunday nights. So thank you for being a subscriber, a supporter, and a stars sender for those of you out there watching. Commenters are saying smile, Captain James. I told him that before we started to make sure you smile and pretend like you're having fun. He asked to be here, so he's not forced to be here, but scowling like he's not wanting to be here. So it's kind of weird, but whatever. We'll deal with it. Also want to make sure we talk about how to win trips. So if you want to win some free stuff tonight, we're going to be giving away over $1,500 in free trips. All you have to do is comment one time in order to be eligible for a chance to win. So comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. You're entered into that drawing. We randomly pick names throughout the show. We're going to be giving away a 5-hour half day for 2, a 10-hour all day for 2, a 39-hour for 1, and that Hubbard's Marina swag pack. So make sure you comment once, and make sure you tell us where you're watching from. Make sure you give the video a like for us, and then if you can, remember to share it on your timeline or in your favorite fishing group, or both, maybe. So share, like, comment. That definitely helps us to spread the word as well. Text your friends. Tell them to tune in and join us for the show. Also, want to make sure that we go into what we're catching now. Every week, we show you what we're catching now. Then we talk a little bit about the weather, a little bit about what's going on now, what's biting now, and then we talk about what's coming up and get into your questions. So that's kind of how the show rolls. You remember?
Yeah, I do.
It's like riding a bike.
It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit, but he's back. He's back, and we're back in action. Captain James has been running a lot of our 5-hour half days, 10-hour all days, and some 39-hour trips. You're running Tuesday's 39-hour trip. We've got a super light load this week on our 39-hour trips. We have one Tuesday and one Friday. Both of those trips only have 18 people on them, so super light loads and some great opportunities to join Captain James, Captain Will, and our team out there offshore, and we're seeing a lot of different species.
Yeah, the fishing's still good, and right before we took that Thanksgiving break, fishing was actually really great, and I was kind of disappointed we didn't have a 39-hour during the break, but Dylan said it was Thanksgiving break, half days, all days.
Also, on top of that, we just this year's different because of our gag grouper season change. We kind of had to shuffle the schedule last minute, so kind of messed things up. Normally, we do have a 39-hour the week of Thanksgiving, but this year we didn't because of that. So it's a little different. We're trying to get dialed into these new seasons and stuff like that. But real quick, we're going to give a shout out to some stars senders. Then we're going to get into the photos, show you guys what we're catching now, and then we'll get right into your questions after the weather. So first things first, James McCullum started us off with 500 stars. Thanks, James. Jeff Reedy with a big 1,200. Thanks, my friend. Jasmine Marie, what's going on? Ryan Kelly, David Barr, Rich Blazak, Jim Evans, LaShonda Brown, D Beers with a big 2,500. Thank you so much, D. And Mike, John Bull, Richard Harcourt, appreciate you guys as well. So let's get into the photos, show you guys what we're catching now, and then we'll get rolling from there. Inshore photos-wise, some black drum out and around the jetty right now. We're seeing some nice black drum being caught around the docks too, but this one right there around Johns Pass, Madeira Beach, Treasure Island jetties and beaches. We're seeing some beautiful flounder too. Flounder, they got a nice flounder on the half day today, I think, as well. Captain Joe did. So flounder open up for harvest December 1st. So looking forward to those being back open for harvest here in 4 days. 4 days flounder open back up. And we're seeing quite a few flounder right now too. A lot of redfish around. Redfish are biting really well. It's kind of peak time for redfish. They're on the tail end of their spawn. They're going to start moving back into the back protected bay waters and get around those dock lines a little bit more. But right now we're still seeing quite a few around the beaches, around the pass, and still pretty active out in the grass flats, mangrove shorelines, oyster bars. A lot of redfish action. Still a lot of whitebait around, so pretty hefty whitebait bite. But it'll transition to more shrimp as water continues to cool down. Speaking of shrimp, look at that fatty sheep's head right there.
That's a good one right there.
You guys are seeing a lot around the dock. I know I saw a sheep's head today that made me almost trip. It was so big. I had a double take. I was like, what is that? It was huge. Coming right under the trim tab of the Florida. So there's some big fatty sheep's head around right now. And we're seeing quite a few of them caught. The other day before, I think it was your half day, Jose caught like 3 of them in like 30 minutes.
He catches like 5 to 10 of them before we even start the half day, and then everybody's loading up and he's swinging fish right there. But he's been hitting the sheep's head pretty good.
Sheep's head fishing is going real well around the docks for sure. So if it's a little bumpy out or before or after a half day, you can always get some nice sheep's head. Seeing some solid snook and redfish in the back bay. Snook bite is definitely tucked more up into the back protected bay waters. You want to look for those creek mouse, river mouse, or sun-drenched shorelines. Snook are subtropical species. They're looking for warmer water. So you can see behind this gentleman in the photo, let me zoom in a little bit here. Real good look at what you're looking for here. So this is dark bay mud. You've got a nice seawall, you've got a dock, and look at the sunlight just totally drenching this shoreline. This dark bay mud is super dark, and it's going to absorb the heat of the sun. And as the day progresses, especially early to late afternoon, that sun's been baking that shoreline. That dark bay mud starts to radiate heat. It's like a warmer, and those snook, they'll get right up on that shoreline. They'll push the bait in there, and they are just chilling. So nice slow-moving soft plastic, some live shrimp, some white bait up there, gets them active, fired up, and they're ready to eat. So you got to kind of hunt around for those snook right now, looking for wind protection and looking for some radiant heat as well, some heat sources. But that's what's making the snook bite. We're seeing a lot of triple tail. How many triple tail have you been seeing on the crab pots?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even look.
Don't even... Just one track mind, just on your way offshore.
But
huh?
it is that time of the year. All the traps are out. Everybody's getting the stone crab. And them guys, they know what they're doing. It used to not be a big thing back then, but getting up at 5, 6 in the morning, as soon as the sun's coming up, you'll see them guys running them lines. And I'm sure they're getting some real nice ones.
Yeah, some solid triple tail being caught for sure. You can definitely find them as you're running in and running out. Just got to keep your eyes on the buoys and markers in Tampa Bay. Seeing some solid trout action. The trout bites picked up quite a bit. Shallower water. They're moving shallower. 2 to 4 foot of water is a good spot to target them in the back protected bay waters. Dock lights, bridge lights at night, always a good option too. And that's about it. Inshore photos wise. Now we're going to work our way a little bit deeper, show you guys what we're catching near shore and offshore. And let me give you a hint. Near shore, it's all about them hogfish. The hogfish bite has been stellar and just seemingly won't quit. It's been pretty crazy.
It's been really good. Frank's been really getting after them, and been seeing some really good numbers of the hogfish on the half days, all days. And it's a great time of year to get out. Simple trip, gets you and the family out a couple hours. Come back, you can either eat your fish, save it for another night, and just all around a great experience and a cool fish to catch in shallow.
Yeah, we're seeing quite a few hogfish on the 10-hour trips, quite a few on our 5-hour trips. The private charters on the hub are catching quite a few of them. So you never know where you're going to see them, but we are mostly seeing them shallower, definitely right around anywhere from 30, 40 foot all the way up to about 60 to 70, even 80 foot. But once you get a little deeper than that, there's still hogfish around. It just is a lot more other aggressive fish, and it's kind of hard to get your bait down to the hogfish, right? I mean, it seems like we catch big hogfish in the middle grounds, out deep, even as deep as 180 foot, you can get some solid hogfish, but it's just so hard to get a bait to them.
Yeah, it's mostly just you got the other stuff. They're so much more aggressive. Them hogfish seem to circle around the back and kind of watch for a little bit. And to be honest with you, if I hit a spot and I catch a hogfish on the first bait, it's never a good spot. Time to go to the next one.
It's kind of slow from there on out. Yeah, hogfish are typically one of the last ones to bite. You a lot of times will catch a lot of the gray snapper, the lanes, a few mangroves, and then the porgies kind of kick up, and then all of a sudden the hogfish start. It's one of those weird things. Got a nice sailfish recently. The Jimmy family has come out fishing with us quite a bit, and they were out there on the Flying Hub 2 with Captain Garrett and Captain Seabass and got themselves a nice catch and release sailfish. We've been seeing tons of triggerfish, just boat limit after boat limit of triggerfish on the Flying Hub 2 on the 12-hour extreme trip. 39-hour trips, been getting a lot of triggerfish too,
yeah,
huh?
Triggerfish been really good. I know Rich, he was telling me just the other day, he's been really hammering the triggerfish on the Flying Hub 2 trips. And honestly, it's been pretty good fishing out there all the way around. Got.
That was very short-lived. I was expecting the conversation to keep going there. Triggerfish. What's your favorite bait for triggerfish?
Squid.
If you were going to drop down and target a triggerfish, what are you dropping down?
Oh, if I'm going to target one, you take a live pinfish, hook it right in the throat, because I swear that's the only thing they want to eat is the throat out of a pinfish. Dude, they always eat the throat out of a pinfish.
So you're going to take a 4-aught hook and just thread it down the throat of a pinfish?
Put it right in his throat. Dude, I don't know what it is. Triggerfish, you pull up a live bait and the throat's
They
gone.
always go after the heart, not the throat. It's behind the throat.
No, I'll just go for the throat. Use a treble hook.
Okay, so what I was expecting him to say was... A strip of bonita has been a go-to fan favorite. A strip of bonita or a strip of squid. Similar to yellowtail, a lot of times like a 1.5 to 2 inch strip that's about a 1/4 inch wide is a real good option. Definitely seems like more of a kind of a fluttery bait. Works really well, and that skinny 2-inch strip of squid or bonita works really good to get those fish kind of excited. And I think triggerfish and yellowtail too. A strip of squid is kind of my go-to.
Yeah, the yellowtail for sure. The yellowtail, as soon as you hit the bottom, if you have that strip on, a lot of times you miss it too. That strip stays on there real good and drop right back.
And you can even double snell it for the yellowtail. Threadfin, not so much for triggerfish. Triggerfish like what Will always says is they like something chewy. So like bonita, yeah. A pinfish, though. You're being serious about this, huh?
No, that's real.
Like I want to see a non-edited, solid clip of you hooking this pinfish. How you're describing it? It doesn't make any sense.
Tuesday.
All right.
Tuesday.
I want to see it. You can film it on your phone.
I'll film it.
Unedited clip. We'll show it next week of the old special pinfish hook. All right. So moving on from that, we're seeing a lot of triggerfish is the moral of the story there before we get too far down that rabbit hole. We showed you guys what we're catching. Now let's talk a little bit about the weather, and then we'll get into your questions. Remember, if you do have a question, make sure you text us the phone number at the bottom of the screen. Let's pop on over to our website, hubbardsmarina.com. We have this nice pop-up about our beautiful 2024 calendar. Make sure you check that out. Click fishing trips, then we're going to scroll down to the weather links page. We're going to start in our 5 and 10 hour forecast area of Wind Finder, and you can see pretty clearly at the top here we've got a little bit of a moderate wind here Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. Starts to calm a little bit Thursday. Looks like we're going to have a real nice start to the upcoming weekend, and that's kind of our forecast right now. We got a little bit of a cold front tomorrow. That north wind is going to stay with us Tuesday and into Wednesday. Finally going to start shifting out of the east as a high pressure settles in behind the front, and then we get a little bit of south wind before probably, another cold front. Always typical this time of year. We get a north wind on the front, east wind behind the front, south wind before the front, and then a north wind as it passes. So pretty typical cycles right now. So looks like we are setting up for best weather and fishing probably late work week, early weekend on the backside of that cold front and high pressure before the next front. So I would say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday looking real good fishing-wise. But not bad. This is going to be a somewhat weak front. I mean, nothing crazy. So Monday doesn't look terrible. Definitely a little bumpy, but not terrible. Tuesday looks doable. We're fishing pretty shallow for the hogfish. So that's the thing. We can pull off Tuesday's 10 hour. It's just going to be a little bit bumpy. And we'll have to stay a little closer to shore, but we can do that and still catch plenty of hogfish. Wednesday gets a lot better. Thursday is definitely the better day. If you're thinking about Tuesday or Thursday's 10-hour trip, Thursday is definitely looking better weather-wise. Friday and Saturday looks like the best day so far, for sure. But we'll pop on over to the weather links page again, hit spaghettimodels.com and scroll down and just take a peek at the prog charts. So tomorrow is Monday, and as I said, tomorrow we're expecting that cold front to move through, and there it is. There's our cold front we're expecting tomorrow. This is day after tomorrow, Tuesday. That north wind hangs around because that front kind of hangs out below, doesn't go too far off, so that north wind is going to stay around, pushing wind down towards the front, drying us out too. So we're going to see lower humidities and a little cooler weather moving in. Then Wednesday, we see that wind start to shift out of the east as that high pressure settles in, and that high pressure hangs out, keeps that low pressure boundary away from us, so that we'll see that east wind relenting into the weekend. Look at Friday. Friday looks nice. Nothing around Friday. And then Saturday, we start to see that occluded front move back in later weekend, and that's going to bring back the wind. So exactly matching up with what we saw on the wind forecast. Basically, best days coming up. Going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But it's still early. A lot can change. And this time of year, often the weather does change. So stay tuned to our updates through the week. We'll keep you informed of what's going on. But definitely looks like the best weather days are going to be late work week, early work weekend, right? So with that, let's do our first free trip giveaway of the night. Let's find out who won. Should we do the 5 or 10 hour first?
5.
5 hour first. All right, Captain James says 5 hour first. Let's see who the lucky winner is. Gary Camage from Michigan. Congratulations, Gary. Remember, if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less. Text us your full home address to the phone number at the bottom of the screen there. So phone number at the bottom of the screen, text us your full home address. We'll get you that certificate out in the mail. Then also, if you have a question you want answered live during the show, make sure you text us to that phone number at the bottom of the screen as well, because we talked about what we're catching now. We talked about the weather. Now it's time to get into your questions. So this is a live Q&A show, so we want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. So let's see what our first question of the night is. We'll get rolling into that as they load. As they load, one thing we want to remind people about is Final Friday. We got Final Friday coming up in December. It is going to be awesome. Our Final Friday that we just had was stellar. James had to leave early because he was running the 12-hour night snapper trip, but it was kind of slow after you left. I mean,
I didn't expect it to be too crazy with Black Friday because even I think
which is kind of silly, right? Like Black Friday, I would imagine it would be busier because everybody wants to come take advantage of great deals that we have going on in the shop right now.
We had some really good stuff going in the shop, and I think just kind of what kills us is there's no other shops really selling too much in the past there. I mean, besides like shells, but I mean, like we're just the only tackle guy around.
Yeah, there's a lot of shops in Johns Pass, but yeah, you're right. Not a lot of them are known for their Black Friday deals, but there's definitely crazy Black Friday deals going on at Hubbard's Marina right now, all the way through December 16th. We're doing a toy drive right now. You can get 25% off a trip if you bring in a new unwrapped toy. We've also got lots of deals on rods, on reels, on tackle, on apparel. So lots of stuff going on. Josh is dropping the Black Friday shop link into the chat as well. So check that out after the show. Then also we have Black Friday coming up in December. It's December 29th. That's Capt Mark's birthday. Have to have some extra oysters.
Oh, I already know.
Oh, you already know? You planned it out, of course.
I already know.
Of course you do. Also, it is a cookie contest night. So we've had so far a chili contest. This past Black Friday was a pie contest. And then we have a cookie contest coming up this Black Friday, December 29th. So hopefully we'll see you out for the cookie contest. There's Tony Barnes. Speaking of the pie contest, he was a second place winner in our pie contest. We had first place winner was a cannoli pie. Did you try any of the pies?
No, I had to leave.
You had to leave?
Disappointed.
Oh man, you missed out.
Some pie.
Yeah, the cannoli pie was legit from what Josh and Jared said. They were pretty torn up. You guys were really deliberating hard, Josh. They had to bring in a third judge because they couldn't quite pull it off. Jared and Josh were deliberating too hard and couldn't quite pull it off. They were torn between the first place official winner, the cannoli pie, and second place was a meat pie.
Meat pie?
So yeah, a meat pie.
Ooh.
Tony Barnes. Yeah, it was pretty legit. And third place was what was third place? It was Chris Collins' blueberry pie, right? Pecan pie.
Oh, pecan pie. That's where I go to.
So first place was Debbie Dodge with a cannoli pie. Second place was Tony Barnes with his meat pie. And Chris Collins coming in a strong third with the pecan pie. So who's going to win December? We're about to find out. Remember, it's $300 prize first place, $200 prize, or it's a $100 prize for second place, and a Hubbard's Marina swag pack for third place. And that's our cookie contest. December 29th at Final Friday. So hopefully we'll see you out. And now we've got Capt Mike Anderson on the phone. What's going on, Capt Mike?
A cookie contest?
Cookie contest.
What?
Yeah, so it's not enough that we give away free beer, free soda, free water, and have a crawfish boil. But we're spicing things up and doing little contests, too, at Final Friday. Maybe we'll eventually lure you out there.
Well, I was going to say, boy, if we're in town, if we don't go up north for deer camp, we may have to make the run because I'm a sucker for cookies. You know that.
Whoa, that's awesome.
That's my weakness.
We might have tricked him. We might have got him, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Might
you also got to try
right
the crawfish isn't bad either. It's pretty legit.
No, and Miss Beth loves some crawfish too, boy. She loves it. I like it. I don't love it, but she loves it.
That's good.
So that might do it. The other thing, the only reason we haven't been there yet is because I live on the other side of the planet from you.
You do live in Egypt.
Especially if there's beers involved.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So I got to come over there on a night when I'm willing to behave myself.
Well, they do have hotels now. They have hotels next door. Like you could stand at the crawfish boil and throw a crawfish and hit a hotel. So it's pretty legit.
I can bring a deer.
And then
I can do that too.
Yeah, you
can just have you pick me up for the show on Saturday. Oh, we don't have a show that Saturday. Perfect.
There it is.
That's a good idea. I like the way you roll. We may do that.
All righty.
We may do that.
How's the fishing
What's up,
going?
buddy?
How's the inshore fishing going?
You know what? We're getting some weather issues just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Wind and rain and cooling water temps. Full moon fever's biting us. So it's interesting to say the least. I will tell you, I saw lots of my very good contacts that caught some really nice fish this week on artificial.
Okay.
So yeah, that was really kind of interesting. So some big upper slot to over slot redfish, some big trout were caught. The trout bite's been firing off.
Nice.
So the snook bite slowed down a little bit, which is kind of I kind of expected that around the moon and with the weather the way it is, but super interesting.
Yeah.
Super interesting. So, and the guys doing well near shore when on the days, those little windows when they can sneak out there, it's been a pretty solid bite near shore as well. So, it's been a tough winter. I just, and I've said it for years and years and years, I don't like a really mild winter. I don't need a mean winter. We don't need anything crazy, but I like that turnover. I like the colder, cooler water temps. I think we just need that change in the fishery. It pushes those fish way back in the backcountry, pushes them into those winter haunts instead of them staying out in that fall pattern the whole winter. And then when spring comes, you end up with that huge push of fish pouring out of the backcountry that haven't been eaten, and they're hungry, they're ready to rock and roll, they're headed for the spawn. I just think it makes for a much better spring. It can make for a little bit of a tougher winter because you get the weather and you get some windows where you just don't get to fish.
Yeah.
But I really, really think it's so much better for the spring. It just is. And we've had some decent springs. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think they're anything compared to those springs you get when it's actually cold.
Yeah.
When you actually have to run charters in your heavy winter weight rain gear, and you're just pounding and grinding for, redfish on the docks and sheephead on the docks and, those cold water tolerant species, trout.
Sheepshead.
I just trout, sheephead, and redfish are my go-to when we have these types of winters. And all of those species they're kind of setting up to be pretty strong here through, December and January and into February. So, it looks good, but and hopefully, it looks like we're going to have a winter, which again, I think is a good thing.
A winter. You gotta watch out for those.
I think those are the ones that we need.
And
I don't like those soft winters. A
winter. Spoken from a true cheesehead, right?
Yes, right. Absolutely. Bring the winter.
So when do the fish start to transition in your head, in your mind? When do those fish start to transition from that true white bait to a shrimp bite? Is it just the presence of the bait? Is it time of year? Is it photo period? Is it water temperature? When do we start to see that transition from a white bait prolific bite to more of a shrimp crustacean bite?
Well, I think it's all water temperature sensitive.
I got you.
The easy answer is all of the above.
Yeah.
But the reality is when that water temp hits a certain mark, and it's usually, into the mid 60s, maybe a little, in the lower 60s. Once that water temp starts to push there, that bait will move off and it'll run really deep. It'll search out that thermocline, we just can't catch it. And then what happens is the metabolism of our game fish slows down, and they switch into a crustacean feed, more of a shrimp feed, because the shrimp digest easier than a bony bait fish.
Okay.
So that's really what happens. Fish get really smart. They know that if they eat a Peter mullet the wrong time of year, and they get stuck in some cold temperature, their body's metabolism won't be able to digest that fish, and that fish will rot in their belly and they'll die. So that's why they switch. That's why Mother Nature has set them up to switch to this crustacean feed here, and it just works better.
Nice.
You can drift. And what happens, I've had times where I've been able to catch some bait off the markers. The water temp's a little chilly, and you have shrimp and white bait, or shrimp and threadfin.
Yeah.
And you drift them along a shoreline on an incoming tide or an outgoing tide, and you're just drifting with a cork, and that shrimp will get rocked every time. And again, it's all water temperature. It's all water temperature sensitive. It just is. It just, when that water temperature gets a certain temperature, it shuts that metabolism down a little bit, and they switch out of that bait feed.
All right.
So,
Legit.
you know, I mean, yeah.
And it's
That's
a full moon right now, so we all know what that means. Outgoing tide.
Oh, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Outgoing tide, you betcha. And it should be a good one. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're getting into the winter time where you get into those negative tides.
Uh-huh.
So they really dump out, and they get super low, and the fish stack up on those edges, especially the big trout. They'll stack up on those edges and get real target rich. I really like to throw MirrOlure Little Johns this time of year.
Those
And
are the
especially in
softer jerk baits, right?
Well, they're I call them a rat tail bait.
Oh, I got
I
you.
mean, the Little John looks just like a little rat tail. It's kind of a round, you know, pyramid-looking thing. I mean, it's just a long, stretched-out tail.
But it's like a
but if,
Miradine head with a soft plastic tail, right?
it is not. It's just a soft plastic.
Oh,
I mean, there's
just
no
a
real
soft-
head to the. There's no real head to it.
Josh pulled it up, so we have a picture now. So
Okay, there you
you're
go.
putting a jig head on there.
You're putting a jig head on there, and you're working it really slow. And what you want to do is you want to pick out those colors. They've got a gold, red glitter, kind of a clear looking bait that works really good if the water's really clean. They got a watermelon red glitter that I really, really like this time of year, depending on, again, you know, normally the water gets, at some point here, probably a little towards spring, the water will get super clean. And it'll be cold. If it's cold, you'll want to switch to that clearer bait with the gold and the red flake in it. If it stays a little dirty, I like the watermelon red glitter. It gives it a little bit of green, but that red, and that's going to look like a shrimp in the water.
Yeah.
And the big trout just beat them up. They
So
just do.
one thing that is always interesting that I get questions about a lot in the shop is like, what's the best color for the soft plastic? I've always been told, and my experience has always showed me that you kind of match the watercolor, right? And that's kind of what you said. Cleaner, clearer water, you go to a more of a clear bait with some sprinkles in it. Whereas if the water stays a little dirty, you stay in that like watermelon color.
Dark
kind of
color.
New penny.
Dark colored water or muddy water, darker the bait.
Okay.
And the perfect example of that is Louisiana.
Yeah.
If you
Black.
when we first started to go to Louisiana as Florida redfish tournament guides,
Yeah.
and started to talk to the local tackle stores and the local Cajuns, and they were like, you know, purple chartreuse tail. You're like, what? Purple, you know, black chartreuse tail. I mean, but it makes sense because again, they can't see anything. So the darker that bait is, the easier it is for them to pick it up. I'm always a sucker for white. I always am. And I learned that in Jacksonville many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville's probably got just about as dirty a water as we have in the state of Florida.
Definitely.
On a regular basis. And you know, just working shorelines in Jacksonville for 10 years. We visited there at least once or twice a year, you know, whether it was Jacksonville, Mayport, you know, and Amelia Island, whatever it was up that way.
Yeah.
You always saw the white flash. If you went across the flat and it was covered in you know, Peter mullet, you would see that white flash. And it led me, you know, down a road one day when we couldn't get bid on anything dark colored to just start throwing white and just absolutely crushed them. So I'm a sucker for white.
So clean,
almost all the time.
Clean water, dark water, white will work, but generally you match the watercolor to your bait.
I'm a huge fan. And a lot of guys, you know, some of the best artificial fishermen in the state, you know, Jeff Page and Ray Markham and, you know, Eddie Zayak. I mean, there's some really great, Ryan Rickard. There's some great artificial fishermen out there that, you know, compete in all these different water colors and temperatures and all that. And everybody's got a favorite.
Yeah.
White has just always been my go-to. And there's two reasons. One, because I've had a lot of luck and success using it. It's something I believe in, which I think is most important.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you go back to your granddad's tackle box and start digging around, you're going to find a lot of white with a red head.
Red head, white body.
You're going to find a lot of that, and that I think is a great color combination for this time of year. Now, and I gave you again, I've gone to there's a Mirror Lure Little John in a color called molting, and if they're in the feed, if the water temp hasn't got too cold and they're in the mood to eat bait, that molting to me looks just like a Peterbilt. I mean, it does. It's got kind of a brownish back with a white slice in it, a white belly to it. Mm-hmm. And I've had great success. I got that from TJ Stewart down in Sarasota, who's another phenomenal artificial fisherman here on the west coast of Florida. So I like that color as well. But I gave you watermelon red glitter. I can't remember that clear gold flake, red and gold flake one. I can't remember what the actual color is from Mirror Lure. Yeah. But it's a really great shrimp imitation color. The Mirror Lure Provoker, the 5-inch jerkbait for those days when you can kind of get up a little bit shallow on the incoming tide and start to work some of that shallow grass for those big trout. They make a bone silver, which I think is a great color. So, I mean, I don't strictly just throw white, but if I had to have, if you said, hey, you get one color paddle tail, one color, Little John, one color hard bait for the rest of your life, I'm going to throw white body, red head, and just, live or die with it. Yeah.
Well,
I just think it works.
We appreciate all the tips, as always, my friend. Lots of good info.
I appreciate you letting me call in. Yeah, appreciate you letting me call in, brother. Hope all the listeners had a great Thanksgiving, and we're looking forward to get back in the air chair and talk a little fishing here coming up next weekend.
Let's do it, my friend. We got a special guest coming up on our Saturday show. You want to mention that real quick?
Yeah, we do. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. His first name is Herb. And he is the receiver for Piney Point, which has been doing really some remarkable things. You and I have been talking for a long time. I've been talking forever, throwing my arms up in the air with frustration over Piney Point and the situation and all the issues we've had with that piece of property, especially those big dumps we've had into the bay over there on the south shore of Tampa.
3 in total. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just been horrible. Our good friend Jeff Barrett, who's the manager, he manages the property and has been managing the site, reached out to you and I about coming out there and, kind of shined a lot of light on the situation politically and from what they were trying to accomplish. Governor DeSantis got involved, did some great things, and we're going to be able to talk about all of that with the guy who handles the money, who's been in charge of eliminating, over 1 billion gallons of water from that facility. From what I understand, they're down to about 290 million gallons from over 1 billion.
Yeah.
So they are cleaning the facility, and we're going to be able to dive deeply into that on Saturday morning show. Should be pretty cool.
Talking about the closure of Piney Point. So some big news, and we're going to talk all about it this coming Saturday. So don't miss out on Saturday's radio show at 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on News Radio 970 WFLA. And you can always watch live on the Hubbard's Marina and Real Animals Facebook pages too. So tune in and join us. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it, buddy.
Good to hear your voice, my friend. Look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
See you, man.
All right, partner.
Bye. So I'm excited about that for sure.
That's a pretty cool conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Herb from Piney Point, the receiver, the man with all the money. I think they got $64 million from Governor DeSantis to shut down Piney Point, and they're almost there. They're almost there. Like Mike said, they're from 1 billion to 290 million gallons. That's so
crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude, and they let us tour that facility. Like, they let Mike and I in there, and they, took us up to the top and, showed us the pits. It was crazy, the amount of water that was stored in these pits. And, when you looked at, the dirtiest pit, because the ones that were spilling were obviously dirty water. It wasn't, clean water, but it wasn't, the dirtiest. The dirtiest water was in this one facility down in the bottom. Dude, the water was
bad.
It looked real bad. If you fell in, if you fell in it, you would just melt, like that Indian Indiana Jones movie, like when they looked at the Ark and they melted.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like not cool stuff. So pretty cool to see how far they've made it, and I'm excited to ask them a lot of questions. So that's coming up this Saturday. It's time for questions, I believe. We were pulling up questions when Mike called, right, Josh? But before we do questions, let's give away one of those free trips. We gave away a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Let's do our Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Let's find out who is the lucky winner of our swag pack. Lucky winner is Billy Bardo. Says, I never win. Well, Billy, you won. So you can't say that anymore, can you? Congratulations on your swag pack win. Make sure you text us within 5 minutes your full home address to claim your win. That finally happened, Billy. Congrats. All right, so with that, is a spinning reel good for hogfish? What's your favorite reel? You're so stupid.
I'd say the Daiwa BG.
He's got nothing written on his hand.
There's nothing.
But I am proud that you said the Daiwa BG.
No, the
because
Daiwa BG. We sell them in the office, and it's honestly, it's a great
and it's on Black Friday. Did you plan that?
I didn't. How much is it right
It's
now?
on Black Friday special. I think it's 25% off or 30% off, something like that.
If you're going to spend the money, you spend a couple extra bucks to get the BG. And if you get the 4,000, they hold plenty of braid. So it's perfect for the hog fishing. For a little bit deeper, you can still get some of the other species. If you're on another boat or on one of our boats, you can even use it for a flat line for kingfish. It's great for this time of year. And but one of the big things I really like about it is whenever you go to take off the handle, it actually threads in instead of sliding in and then twist the other side, so the handle doesn't give out and you get a lot more life out of it. And it's just Daiwa just really makes a good spinning reel, honestly.
So proud.
I'm so proud.
So proud. I know. So the Daiwa BG is 30% off right now for Black Friday. So definitely take advantage of that. And that was not planned. So ironic that he said Daiwa BG. But I would have said Daiwa reels are definitely my favorite go-to. They make a BG MQ. The MQ is a little bit of a step up from the BG series. Basically what it stands for is like monocoquial, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's a very fancy word for meaning that they took a Daiwa BG and they made the whole frame of the reel one piece of metal. So the Daiwa BG MQ has an all one-piece metal frame. It's got a bigger main gear. It's all sealed. It's a really, really, really nice reel. It's a little lighter, a lot stronger, and it's sealed, mag sealed, so never, ever, ever going to change. Monocoquial. Yeah, you can't pronounce that, bro. It's MQ. That's all you need to know. So we have the Daiwa BG MQ, and then we also have some other reels like the Daiwa Saltist and the Saltist MQ. So we've got a lot of spinning reels in the shop. But I would say for a hogfish, to answer the question, spinning reels are going to be the preferred method.
Yeah, spinning reel, you definitely want something lighter, and that way you can feel the bite just a little bit better.
Because those hogfish, it's so funny. Sometimes they're just going to kind of come up and tap.
Yeah.
Sometimes you won't feel them at all, and sometimes they're going to freight train you.
It's just that little tap, and you have to be able to feel it. If you're using a conventional, you still can, but with that shrimp, 1-2 taps, either you got him or he's got you, and if you're not feeling it, you're just sitting down there on credit. Yeah,
it goes fast, and those shrimp come off the hook so easy, so it makes it tricky. It's kind of like sheep's head fishing. I was talking to somebody, and they said it so well. It's the sheep's head, you almost have to set the hook before they bite.
Yeah, they go like suck it in.
Yeah. So you have to, it's almost the same with hogfish. You have to be ready to set the hook. So definitely a light spinning reel. Light is key. Light reel, light rod, something that's going to give you a lot of sensitivity, but a good backbone because they do fight hard.
Yeah. What we got here? Bucket with shrimp.
Can you bring a 5-gallon bucket with shrimp on the 5-hour? You definitely can. We do offer shrimp when you get down to the shop. 2 dozen for 2 dozen in a bait bucket for 10, 5 dozen in a bait bucket for 20. And our bait buckets will fit in our live wells, so you don't need a 5-gallon bucket. You just show up, and we'll give you the bait bucket that's going to fit in our live well. Or you can buy shrimp from us $4 a dozen, put them in your 5-gallon bucket, or you guys can bring your own shrimp and you can bring your own 5-gallon bucket. That's fine. The Ingle bait coolers have become super popular too. For a 5 hour, if you're going to fish for hogfish, a 5 hour half day, probably want like 5 dozen per person. If you're going to fish for hogfish and use shrimp heavy the whole time, 10 hour, probably at least 10 dozen per person. But you can go up or down from there, right?
Yeah, you can go up or down from there. Honestly, I don't even like the shrimp alive. If they're fresh dead, I think they work even better than the freshly alive ones.
Because you can use pieces too.
Yeah, if you use the pieces, if they're fresh and they just died, then you can cut them in half and you could actually get 2 pieces out of each one. If they've been frozen, you really can't. You just use 1 piece because that head just falls right off. But yeah,
frozen is scientifically, it's the same thing when you freeze fish, right? Because what happens when you freeze a piece of fish, the reason it tastes different from a fresh piece of fish is A, it's older, but B, when you freeze something, what happens when it's frozen slowly is those cells expand and then burst. Same thing if you take a water bottle and you fill it up and you put it in your freezer. If you don't leave enough gap in there, the water freezes, the bottle explodes. It's the same thing that happens to the cellular structure of that shrimp or that fish that you put in your freezer. So when you freeze shrimp and then thaw it out, it's mushy, comes off the hook easier. So the fresh... What are you smirking at me for?
I was just thinking, I feel like I kind of got frozen and I burst. I mean, like, look how big I'm getting. But I don't know why that was rolling through, but I was thinking about that. Well, no, there's been a subject lately. Dylan weighs less than me now.
We're not talking about this right now. We're talking about fishing.
But you said frozen and burst, and I was like, somehow me.
So as we were saying, frozen shrimp comes off the hook easier because when it thaws out, it gets mushy. Fresh shrimp, live shrimp are going to be a lot kind of more rigid on the hook, right? So a live shrimp, you can hook a live shrimp, but a lot of times they come off easier, right? Because if you got a nice big shrimp on there, something can just tap at the head and pull the whole shrimp off. Whereas if you take a shrimp, you cut it in half, you can use the head piece, you can use the tail piece, you get 2 pieces of bait out of 1 live shrimp. So fresh dead is really the best bet.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, it works really well. So fresh dead is a good option. How far out should I fish for king mackerel? I was trolling on the beach this past weekend and only got Spanish mackerels. What do you say?
You know, it varies with this weather. Like if we start getting that east wind, the mackerel and the kings are going to really start stacking up on the beach. And usually they start up at like the Clearwater hard bottom and they work all the way down through. We'll get them right out front of our pass and then we'll start getting them down south by the Don Cesar. It can vary day by day. You can go one day to a little piece of hard bottom like 3 miles out and then, kill them. And then the very next day, they're a couple miles out further. It really depends on the weather. Right now, I've heard that they've been getting them pretty good up in Clearwater. So if you get up early in the morning, go throw the net, get some white bait or even sabiki, some threads or something off the beach. You troll those white baits, you will get some kings. I prefer to use the smaller baits rather than the big ones. I'd rather get a couple hits than only get 1 or 2 and, just have a little bit more action. If you're pulling the spoons and the planers, or if you're pulling what's the plugs I use?
The Mirror Lure 25
yeah.
plus.
You get the kings on those. It's kind of weird. Like there's times that they'll just be tearing them up, and there's times that they kind of shy away from them. But if you pull the spoons, you won't get as many. You'll get still a lot of mackerel. The mackerel will consistently hit the spoons like crazy. But kingfish, it really depends on the time of year, the weather that we got going right now. But the beach has been pretty good, even coming back from the all-day today. There was a lot of bait right on the beach, and you could see the mackerel just rolling. And those kingfish, they are mixed in. But whenever you do find that school, you can just take a handful of white bait, throw it out, and see them skyrocketing. And it's just a really great time. You just got to do a little bit of hunting and look around. And a lot of the different fishing groups that we have going on right now, a lot of people are usually pretty friendly and talking to everybody where they've been getting them lately because they want to see everybody go have a good time. And it's a good place to check it out and just do a little investigating yourself.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of mackerel on the beach, too. Today, the Hub had a 3-hour trolling trip. They trolled the beach, got a bunch of nice mackerel. But it is definitely a little fewer and farther between on the kingfish in general. Like King of the Beach, there wasn't that many kingfish weighed in. Biggest one was only just over 40 pounds. Most of the fish were between 18 to 28 pounds. So the kingfish that are around aren't really huge. So it's just not prime kingfish fall run. It's been a little bit of a softer run overall. So there's that as well. So I wouldn't get too discouraged that you're not getting a bunch of kingfish, because not many people are.
Yeah, it's that time, like, say, you give it another week and things can change really fast. And, even like the hub going out on a 3-hour, it doesn't sound like a ton of time, but when you're fishing right on the beach, you can literally just let the boat do circles and stand back there with the customers and just whip them in one after another. And
yeah,
it's pretty crazy how it can get whenever them fish are rolling through.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome. So hopefully we'll get that kingfish run going real well, but haven't seen it quite yet. One question I saw come through was about the size hook for hogfish. Hogfish, normally about a 3 to 4/0 hook is kind of what we're using. What would you say?
I'm so bad with this answer.
What?
Like, I got yelled at when I came back. I was using the J hooks.
Yeah.
So no more J hooks. But I used to use the long shank.
Yeah, so when you work at Hubbard's Marina, you have to follow the rules.
You have to follow the rules.
Crazy.
But I have, converted over. I do like the circle hooks, and honestly,
they weren't asking what type of hook, because you have to use a circle hook.
Oh, what did it say?
What size hook?
Oh, 4, because that's what we have on the boat.
Yeah,
4 works just fine. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. What rod and reel combo would you recommend for an offshore trolling setup? So for us, our trolling is a little different because we're going bottom fishing. So we're bottom fishing. These are bottom fishing trips. So we're going to be moving pretty quick. So our trolling is done with bigger reels because the boat's moving quite a bit.
Yeah, if you have something really big on, we'll slow the boat down. But the majority, we'll have guys skipping 20-pound kingfish along the surface, and they're just whipping them right in.
Yeah, so generally you're using what we would equate or call like a 50 wide or an 80 wide. Like the one we sell in the shop is the Shimano TLD 50 LRSA, LWRSA or something like that. It's $3.99. It's a 2-speed reel. It's a pretty big, hefty 2-speed reel. You can use that for amberjack and gags when you're out trolling. Yeah, it's only $3.99. Yeah. I don't believe we have it on the online store, Josh, but I appreciate you looking. No, I don't think we have it right now on the store. But we do have a lot of nice reels on our online store, but they're all the bottom fisher reels. Let's see, what other question? As far as a rod combo, it doesn't really matter. Most of the time what I tell people is pair that reel with one of those like $80 or $90 solid glass blanks, the Monster 6 we sell in the shop, because you don't really need much sensitivity. It's sitting in the rod holder. And then when you're not using it for trolling, I always tell people you can use it for dropping a big bait down for amberjack or a big gag. And again, you don't need much sensitivity. So there's not really a reason to spend a bunch of money on the rod.
Just turn the handle, that's it.
Turn the handle, put the rod on the rail. You don't even need to hold it. All right, for the 12-hour night snapper, I was wondering, so that was another reason I wanted to have you on the show, is you've been running a lot of these 12-hour night snappers. Want to make sure we let everybody know to keep Captain Bobby in your thoughts and prayers. He's definitely on the road to recovery. He's out of the hospital, but he's been in and out of the hospital a few times. He's definitely not 100%. And we want to definitely say a prayer for Captain Bobby and keep him in your thoughts and prayers as you move through. Captain Bobby Perucci has been running our 12-hour night snapper for many years. Been part of our Hubbard's Marina family for many years. I grew up working with Captain Bobby and fishing with his son and working for his wife in our office. So they're a big part of our Hubbard's Marina family, and definitely sad to see him dealing with some health issues. But in his stead, Captain James here has been running all the 12-hour night snappers, right?
Yeah, well, been filling in Captain Bobby. He's really ready to get back to it. I think he just needs just a little bit more time to be all the way there, but we'd be super excited to have him back at it because it's definitely some big shoes to fill, and he's made quite a name running those trips and putting a lot of fish in the boat. And I've been getting after it. So, the last trip, the final Friday one, it went good. It was good, and it got a little bit slower, and we had to work really hard through the night. And I put a trip together. The one before that, it was really, really good.
You crushed it on that one.
Yeah, crushed it. Had some quality mangoes. Will even ran another one on the Florida too, and he absolutely crushed it. And the trips, they've been really good, the 12-hour night snappers. I haven't seen too many people using, is it the...
Asking about the jigs. They said,
just jig heads, or are they talking about
they're talking about,
jigging?
I believe, slow pitch jigs.
I've seen some people do it. Honestly, I don't get the jigging deal a whole lot, so I don't pay attention. I see someone jigging, I'm just like, oh gosh, and I usually turn away.
Can't watch.
But I mean, the guys that know what they're doing, they're getting them. And
we have the micro jigs now, the 40, 60, and 80 gram drunkers, or they were the drunker knockoffs. So we do have micro jigs in the shop that work really well for yellowtails, vermilions, and also, of course, mangrove snapper, lane snapper, all that good stuff. So we do have the micro jigs. We have the micro assist hooks. So a lot of people do use the jigs with great success. Like Chris Paradise, I know, does it quite a Paradise. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Jeff Reedy, I know he does. There's a lot of people that use those jigs really successfully. But, yeah, I would say probably 40, 60, 80, maybe 100, maybe 120 grams. You're not really fishing much deeper than 120, 130 foot. Generally fishing anywhere from that like 60, 70, 80 up to about 110, right?
Yeah, we're about 115 on the last two trips that I did. You know what, artificial-wise, that I actually used for really the first time, you gave me and Will some of those octopus jigs, and honestly, I didn't think I'd catch anything. I watched Will catch one. I was like, yep, I want to try it. And they were chewing really good on it, and it kind of made me a believer in that, and I never thought I'd pick one of those up and use it. But I would. The
octopus jigs, we still got tons of those in the shop,
too. And they have tablets, too, that you throw in them, and it's pretty crazy. Like, I was throwing the tablets in my hand and getting ink all over myself, but I mean, I don't know. You can't give me stuff like that. I get too excited.
This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. This is why.
Yeah, those are cool ones to check out in the office. I have used them, and they do work.
Yeah, so definitely for mangrove snapper, I like a double snell, small piece of thread fin. You cut the head, cut the tail, trim the belly, get you a nice little rectangular piece of meat. And on a 12-hour night snapper and 100 to 120 foot, I'd be probably like double snell 4s, maybe 5/0, probably 30, 40-pound leader. I'd probably start with double snell 4s with 40-pound, maybe drop down to 30-pound if I needed to, with like a 3-ounce egg sinker, maybe drop down to 2-ounce if I needed to. But that's what I'd be fishing with for mangrove snapper, and then be throwing in some of those jigs as well. But what's your go-to mangrove snapper rig? If you say throat hook pinfish, I'm gonna freak out.
I always like to start out light, and then once I break one or two off, then I up it up a little bit. But I like to start out with 30-pound fluorocarbon, and I take them old school, the 7/0 Mustad J hooks, and I crimp them jokers together.
This is what I'm talking about. This is why we can't have nice things.
And,
remember earlier when we talked about circle hooks?
Yeah. If I use a circle hook, there's some of those Gamakatsus. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, Gamakatsu and Owner are the
those
two.
Are great because they don't break. No matter what kind of fish you have, it don't matter. You can reel up a Goliath grouper, and he'll have them hooks, and they won't break. And those are probably one of my favorites, but some of the bottom I fish, I tell you what, we go through some tackle, so bring some more.
Yeah, sticky bottom for sure. All right, so let's give away our 10-hour all-day trip, and then we'll have time for one more question before we wrap up. 10-hour all-day. Let's see who the lucky winner is of that 10-hour all-day. Richard Bedwell from Daytona Beach. Congratulations, Richard Bedwell. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less. Claim that free trip by texting us at the phone number at the bottom of the screen. So, with that, we've got time for one more question. Let's see here. While I'm waiting for the boat to go out, I'll be flying in early on Friday. Are we allowed to fish on the dock? Yes, you can fish on our dock. You can fish on the beach behind our office, the jetties. There's a lot of places you can fish around John's Pass, and it is all open to the public as long as we're not actively loading or unloading, but you do need a fishing license. When you're fishing on our boats, you don't need a fishing license. When you're fishing from the dock, pier, bridge, jetty, you do need a fishing license, so keep that in mind. When can I book a trip for 2024? So you can book your 5-hour half days now, your 10-hour all days now, but our 12 hours, our 39 hours, our 44 hours, all those specialty trips, they open for booking December 1st. That is Friday, December 1st. This Friday, December 1st at 11 a.m. 11 a.m. December 1st, this Friday, the schedule opens for 2024. And at 11:05 Friday, people will have booked heavily for red snapper season, for opening gag grouper season. So don't wait, don't hesitate. Book online is what I strongly recommend, because you can book immediately, like at 12 or 10:59 a.m. Those online bookings will open and you can finish. And what happens is someone will call in, will be spiked with phone calls, and they'll be trying to figure out what spot they want on what date they want, and then people will be booking online in front of you. So really recommend getting your stuff in order, knowing what dates you approximately want, who's going with you, and book early and book often, and book promptly, because they'll book up fast.
That's an exciting day.
It's an exciting day. So December 1st, 11 a.m., schedule comes out. What size naked ball jig for hogfish? 2-ounce banana jig. We have the naked ball jigs in the shop, but we don't have 2-ouncers. No one does. They're really hard to get. So are you seeing any scamp on your 12 hours and 39 hours? We're seeing some scamps.
Seeing some on the 10 hours. Actually, too, I think Rich has been catching some on the 12-hour extremes. The 39 hours, we've been getting them as well. We were getting more of them during the summer, but we're still picking a good number of them. They're coming up about the same time. Whenever we're getting the trigger fish, you usually see quite a few scamps come up as well.
Yep. So you never know. Never know. Lots of good options for you. Fishing is going well. Inshore, you can get some sheep's head around the docks while you're waiting for a trip. Near shore, the hogfish bite's going well. Offshore, we're seeing lots of big mangroves, yellowtails. We're seeing some nice muttons. We're seeing a lot of those trigger fish. So it's a good time to get out there.
It's really surprising with the muttons. We've actually been catching quite a few. I've gone out.
And you've got 18 people going with you Tuesday on 39 hours.
Super light load. I mean, you can put your arms out and have plenty of room. And
crazy.
If it's the time that you're wondering about getting out here, trying it out, now's the time to do it. You know, there's not as many people, so you can kind of get the hang of it. And there's really actually a routine to it. You know, a lot of these guys come out and, you know, they already know exactly how all the steps are working, and, you know, you can kind of get dialed in. That way when red snapper season comes, gag grouper open, red grouper's here, amberjack, you know exactly what to do. You've already done it, and now you get to do it
rock and roll
with everybody else.
Yes, sir. So we'll see you Tuesday for the 39-hour super light load. We got another light load Friday. We've got light loads on our 10-hour trips. Definitely make sure you join us. Check out the Black Friday deals we have going on. Also, make sure you stop by Gator Jim's Tackle. Tell them we sent you. And also, big shout out to our supporters. If you're on the supporters page, make sure you pop on over to the supporters after show that happens at 8:45 p.m. Want to make sure we give a shout out to our stars senders here. We had Richard Harcourt wrapping us up, and Tim McCardle and Laura Cambron. And the big star sender tonight was definitely D Beers with 2,500. We appreciate you, D. Thank you so much. Also, with that, I think we covered all our announcements. hopefully we'll see you this week. Hopefully you'll get a chance to come out and join us and go fishing. Because don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for your help there, bud.
I just didn't want to mess it up,
Yeah, Supporters After Show starts in 10 minutes. If you're in a supporter in our supporters group, make sure you pop on over there and join us. It's only $4.99 a month. You get access to the private supporters page, access to the after show. It's basically $1 a show, so it's not expensive. So join us, and hopefully we'll see you final Friday, December 29th. Let's find out who won our 39-hour trip. And we'll see you next week and every Sunday night at 7:30 p.m. for our live stream show. Let's see who the lucky winner is of that 39-hour trip. For one super lucky winner, Robert Moore from Rayburn Gap, Georgia. Congratulations, Robert Moore from Georgia. You're the lucky winner tonight. Send us a text within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. We'll see everyone next week. Don't forget to tell a friend about the show. And thanks for coming on tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad to come out here. I don't get the opportunity because I'm working so much.
Yeah.
So
Well,
nice.
maybe if you smile more, you get on the show more. See you guys.
Have a good one, guys.